Fashion News opens its fashion vaults to the most important, influential, and trend-setting designers of the last 30 years. Designer Marathon brings you a unique chronicle of the milestone moments, the landmark collections, the exhibitions, the favorite models, and the creative process behind every designer's career. From the first to the last, from the shocking to the classic, follow the evolution of the world's top designers from rising star to fashion icon. It's all here in the vault, a retro-spectacular timeline, a designer marathon. Vera Wang did what many thought was impossible. She brought fashion to what was formerly a fashion wasteland, the bridal industry. By stripping away gratuitous ribbons and bows and adding a modern touch, she's become a household name and has built a business worth well over $300 million.
Vera revolutionized the industry because I think she took wedding dresses off the cake.
Vera has extraordinary impact on the world of fashion, not just for her bridal collection, but for her fashion collection as well.
She has a great sense of style, she has great personal style, and she's a modern woman, she's a career woman.
Vera didn't set out to be a bridal guru. This petite powerhouse gets her natural grace and indomitable demeanor from competitive figure skating. In 1994, she designed the iconic white dress for Olympic skater Nancy Kerrigan.
I loved figure skating. I love it today. And you had freedom out there on the ice. That was something that I loved more than anything other than fashion.
Educated at Chapin, Sarah Lawrence College, and the Sorbonne in Paris, at age 23, Vera was the youngest fashion editor ever at Vogue magazine, a stint that lasted 16 years. From there, she went on to become a design director for Ralph Lauren. Vera perfected her aesthetic sense with the fashion industry's best.
Oh my God, I mean, those are the Harvard Business Schools of fashion. If there can be such a thing, I think my career at Vogue was the most fortuitous thing I ever did in my entire life. When I failed to make the Olympic team as a figure skater, I was looking for something about which I would feel as passionate and as emotional as I did about skating.
Vera, after she left Vogue, she worked so hard to start her own company and to build it to the empire that it's become. She's done it with a real focus and a real sensibility of who she is and what customers she's trying to dress.
She's a great, wonderful woman. She's very in love with what she's doing, and she's excellent. One of my favorites.
Sensing a niche in the fashion business after a frustrating search for her own bridal gown, Vera entered the bridal business in 1990 with the financial backing of her father. In less than 2 decades, she's been able to parlay her bridal success into books, fragrance, accessories, home, ready-to-wear, and now a moderately priced collection for mass retailer Kohl, garnering a 2005 CFDA and other awards along the way.
And I wouldn't call it success. I call it the grand experiment. That's what I call my life.
Although it's a season of color, brides always wear white. And throughout history, weddings are what little girls' colorful dreams are made of.
It's amazing the transformation that occurs when they put on, in most cases, a white dress. There's something very magical that happens to each and every one of these young women. And I think part of it is the romance of the process they're going through, which is the wedding. People are very hungry for romance. And probably the most age-old stereotype or idea for a young woman from her childhood is her wedding day.
Vera's own wedding day was what dreams are made of, but not without the horrors and hassles of first ironing out the many details. In order to save future brides the same distress, Vera turned her fashion savvy into a heartwarming new business. Enter the romantic world of the Vera Wang Bridal House, a Madison Avenue boutique that caters to every bridal need, except perhaps finding the groom.
It's a scary time and a happy time in a bride's life, really in anyone's life, taking on the seriousness of that kind of a commitment. Everything should not be a torturous and difficult thing for her to do. There are lots of different kinds of gowns, particularly here, and that's something I really have prided myself on. I believe that each woman has her own special kind of style. I have tried to assemble dresses here from all over the world that could enable her to go from a very tailored and very strict woman to a very fanciful and feminine bride.
With 16 years experience as a Vogue editor, as well as 2 years as design director at Ralph Lauren, Vera knows exactly what every new bride-to-be is looking for.
They are all looking to look beautiful, and I think all of them are looking to feel special. And part of the shopping experience and the search for the, quote, perfect wedding dress is an effort we're trying to make that the bride does feel special, pampered, cared for, and advised in a special way. I think everyone's an amateur when it comes to dressing for a wedding, and it's their most public declaration of their most private and romantic feelings. If we can help them to look their very best, then I think we've really done what we set out to do, which is not only about selling someone a dress.
Celebrated bridal wear designer Vera Wang debuted her first ready-to-wear collection for fall with her signature delicate touch.
We've never shown before. So this first time show is kind of backwards in the scheme of things. In terms of my collection, I'm really trying to express who I really am as a designer and what I'm feeling for women today. It's sort of like high hippie, this collection. It's a throwback a little bit to elements of the 60s in terms of the use of color and in terms of the way the girls wear the clothes. So I think the combination of the two makes it kind of modern.
The whole fragility of her Indian fantasies, and so beautifully made, her clothes, so beautifully conceived. They are like a kind of modern couture.
The fabrics range from velvets, painted and not non-painted, all the way to wool and linen net, to embroideries done on tulle, to laces that are jeweled, to illusion, which is my signature. I think that any designer who does more than one line, there's a cross-pollination of what you do. However, I don't think this collection would evoke anything that has previously been thought of as bridal.
I thought it was so delicate and so ephemeral, and it has a real exotic edge to it, which is Vera.
I love that she did complete ensembles, that you would have a sexy dress and a wonderful jacket that match, so you look complete when you go out at night.
I prefer to think of this collection as something else that I do, a totally separate entity from bridal. Bridal is a very different kind of fashion statement, and this is a very different kind of fashion statement.
I think she has a real elegance without sacrificing a certain kind of sexiness. But I think her sexuality is not overt. I think Vera's is more subtle, and it shows up that way in her clothes.
Inspiration was Savannah, it was Spain, it was beach, it was sea and sky, it was suntan oil, it was nude legs, and very Spanish, very Latin. really, without Latin ruffles, you know. I mean, it was a Latin mood, and the Latins are so easy and so free and so open. And that's kind of how I wanted to present spring evening wear. Well, I always notice that when women walk along the beach, they always pull their pants up. So I thought to cut the pants to here, and they're kind of great pants to dance in, and with a little mule, it makes girls kind of stand very tango-y, you know what I mean? So I called them tango pants. A lot of the dresses, the way they were draped, they were thin and paper and filmy, and a lot of them were just like pull-on dresses, like we call them pool dresses. They're stretch. You just pull them up like you're pulling up a towel.
Oh, there was one stone color dress like this, and then the back, the drape on the back, and everybody applauded. That was like so great, because this is the year of the back. I just thought her mixture of colors, like the green with the turquoise together, they're all interesting mixes of color, which I think people are looking for now.
I love color. I love color when it's done with an artistic bent. I don't just love color to do color.
I love the colors. I love the fabrics. They look so like you want to wear them.
I want the wearer to feel sensual. I want her to feel feminine and not in a boyish way. I want her to feel modern, timeless, free, hip, young.
We've been seeing a cozy evening look for a couple of seasons, and Vera is the queen of evening, and so for her to show us cozy evening in a way that's still sexy, that's the tricky part, is making, if you're using heavy fabrics and cashmeres, how do you still feel gorgeous and sexy? And I think she found the secret to that.
The whole idea of mixing together and mixing fabrics and mixing looks and putting evening wear looks with day looks and day looks with evening looks was sort of what I found was the most creative and modern way to dress. A lot of it all started out with Africa and my intrigue with the incredible colors of Africa, which are thousands of non-color, which is what I found to be fascinating. Well, the day wear has been what I wanted to do from the very start, but I never really had the finances to be able to do it. And this is just a little experimentation to begin to start to do that. I do have a fur license now in place, and who will also become a coat license. I have had a shoe license for 2 years, so I'm beginning to have the other components and a new person for knits. So that's going to be able to definitely propel me into another level.
Taking it to another level has also meant some experimentation with fur.
It was fun to see her doing furs for the first time.
The wonderful thing is they're really thin and lightweight. It's a very creative fur to work with because of the size of the pellets. I can do all kinds of things with it. I can make it very tiny detail, and I can blow it up by adding on more skins. And I love the fact it looks young. They don't look like furs. They look like fun pieces. That's what the fur was about. It wasn't meant to be a fur story. It was meant to be just elements of fur.
I think she brought her collection up and down at the same time. It was very, very dressy and formal, but then she threw in some heavier fabrics, and I think she's probably going to appeal to a really young audience, and as well as the most elegant women around.
She's got to be young in heart. She's got to be an individualist. She's got to want to have fun. She has to adore clothes, and she has to have an artistic sensibility.
In 2001, Vera entered the publishing world with the launch of her elegant book, Vera Wang on Weddings. It's the ultimate bridal guide, and hundreds of women come to book signings to meet the fairy godmother of matrimony.
The book was a dream and a nightmare. The book was a dream because I so wanted to express to women that I can never meet, that I will never see, but that wear my clothes, how I felt about them, and how I felt as a woman designer, and how I felt as a woman, as a mother, and that all the fears that we have about ourselves as women, that we're not beautiful enough, that we're not special enough, that we're not accomplished enough, that we're not young enough. I didn't put which birthday. Never do that with the girls. Many things about which we cannot completely change. I wanted them to feel that it's okay that we all have the same self-doubts. The nightmare part, of course, was writing it with the schedule I have, but I did write every word, and that was because I felt that it had to come from me, and no one else could really write what was in my head and what was in my heart.
In 2002, Vera Wang continued to expand her ultra-chic label beyond the world of bridal with the introduction of her first fragrance.
Like any designer, I dreamt of a fragrance. Perhaps it could symbolize also my philosophy about women in another way. Scent can really conjure up memories for people. I know my very first date, I still remember it because of the fragrance. My mother came up to me and she said, "Here, put some of this on behind your earlobes because you really want to smell wonderfully and beautifully and to be attractive for your first date." And I was already so overwhelmed with hormones and, fashion and wanting to be beautiful and seductive. I don't know if I even knew what words they were, but I knew how I wanted to, something about me knew how I wanted to feel. And the excitement when you're young and you have your whole life in front of you. And I mean, God, is there anything better than that? It was that little bit of fragrance that made me feel like a woman. I'm hopefully building memories for some women that they will feel the sensuality that I tried to bring in my clothes.
Known for her dream-inducing wedding gowns, Vera Wang also dresses women who strive for effortless perfection with her ready-to-wear collection. So it's no surprise that talk show media maven Oprah Winfrey was front and center at Wang's spring show.
Oprah is one of the women I admire most. She always gives me great advice. Every so often I get to dress her.
And what the Wang woman will be wearing this spring are ultra-elegant clothes that have a synergy with her body.
It was really a collection about movement. Whether it was a skirt or it was a ball gown, it was a blouse, I wanted to feel as though it sort of moved because I thought there was something very sensual for summer, that clothing actually moved on your body. And that was the real goal. I think that was very important to convey that when a girl walks, there's nothing more sensual or sexy than if clothes move with your body.
Sexy was also the message in the makeup and hair.
She wanted it just sexy and fresh and modern, not sexy in the classic way, but sexy in our kind of way. A little bit rocker, but just easy,
They're gorgeous girls and they look amazing when they're just kind of as they are, but then it's just a little twist going on with the eyebrows. Well, the clothes are actually very, very beautiful. They're incredibly beautiful.
My clothes are always known as being very minimal, but they aren't really minimal. If you really look at them, they have so much detail, but they give a very modern overlook, and I think that's where people get confused. There was an enormous influence of intimate apparel. I love the purity of black, nude, stone, and white undergarments. It was really like a lingerie collection that could be worn in a very relaxed, nonchalant way.
When asked if her bridal designs influence her ready-to-wear line, Wang sees her approach to the two collections as the same.
When I went into bridal, I did it from a fashion viewpoint. In a way, I've been doing regular evening wear and other things all along.
Vera's it girl is as sophisticated as she is stylish. In a predominantly dark palette, Vera's collection was sanguine in spirit, reflecting the promise of her recent trip to China.
My trip to China was very much a search for my roots and where my parents came from and grandparents came from, but it was also very much a sightseeing trip for me. The lavender sky, the grayness of the rocks. So I came back with that. I came back with that sense of dignity, that sense of grace. It wasn't only about a Chinese dress for me. It was about a certain ease. We're not known for tight-fitted clothing, so very much it was about the femininity of Asian women.
Vera's designs are very feminine, but they have a modern elegance to them. She never falls victim to trendiness. She sort of stays the course with, you know, making women look beautiful.
She knows really what women want to show, what they don't want to show. It's just that feeling. And I think she's done some remarkable things at every level of her career.
She's such a great technician when it comes to construction. She has this marvelous ability to emphasize all the things you like about yourself and to basically de-emphasize all the parts you don't.
At first glance, Vera's designs appear sleek and uncomplicated.
They were very minimalist, but not without design. I'm very detail-oriented, and they're nuances. If you really look at our clothes, you'll find little surprises. Even behind the ruffles, the thread traces inside. So it's sort of like a little surprise in the package.
Some of Hollywood's most photographed women choose the understated glamour of Vera Wang for their red carpet moments.
There's always a subtlety in Vera's work. It's not in your face, it's not overblown or flamboyant. It's just a subtlety and a refinement of line and refinement of detail. The dress can be ornamented with a lot of embellishment, but it's never overkill.
Since the company's inception, Vera has always concentrated on unapologetically sleek evening wear. Whether couture or ready-to-wear, Vera designs for the socially sophisticated woman.
I sort of envision the women I dress as more, should I say, perhaps a bit artier and a more esoteric and subtler. I don't think I'm the designer for someone who really is looking for, you know, tits and ass. I mean, that just isn't my kind of aesthetic, you know, or flashy. You know, in order to create clothes that are subtle but interesting is a constant challenge. Perhaps the reason I use the word modern for my clothes is because I am influenced by the past. I mean, I study always what came before. That's very, very important to me to understand, you know, that vocabulary. But I like to translate in how we would wear it today.
It is Vera Wang's artistic hand that is so inspirational. The intricacy of Wang's winter collection did not take away from its effortless beauty.
It's a very, very complex collection with many, many elements, but I think they all came together, linked, as you say, tremendously by the palette of colors, but also, I think, a certain overall style, that there was a nonchalance and an ease. So I think that's how people wear clothes. You know, whether they're from Target or they're from me, it's about a kind of comfort in the clothes, and I think that was also very important to me. I had this concept of doing clothes that were very light, that women could wear indoors and feel kind of comfortable and sensual in. And yet to have the structure of these little jackets and coats that I created that were interlined with leather and double-faced wool, so they have a little stiffness. And I just thought the counterbalance between the two looked very new. I like to really mix it up for evening because I'm known for evening, and I like to think that every dress has its own personality and its own details and its own character, and I sort of see them as different women. We love sensual rather than outwardly sexy. It's more about subtlety for us.
I loved the evening wear at Vera Wang and her day wear. I thought she had a real breakthrough with this collection.
It's about the beauty of each innate piece, and that's what I was trying to create for this show.
For those of us longing for that Vera Wang dress that is out of reach and beyond our credit card limit, have no fear.
I would really like to be able to make more of my clothes, to make them more affordable for more people. I think I would love to do that. I mean, they are very expensive. They are, in the truest sense, collection clothing. But I would love to be able to bring my aesthetic, which I think is of a very modern, but a bit existential and a bit artistic type of woman. I'd like to be able to bring that to maybe more customers and more clients out there. So it'd be nice to be able to reach more people.
Under Vera Wang's knowing eye, summer was as easy as it was seductive.
I like to think our clothes are always sexy because it's about the woman wearing them.
The hair and makeup echoed the alluring charm of the collection.
It's a sexy, candle-lit, glowing look. Candlelight is just so beautiful, and it's a little bit of a smudgy eye, a little bit messy, and then just gorgeous, glowing gold skin and gold eyeshadow, and a little bit of a tiny gold lip.
The hair at Vera, she asked for something that was kind of hippie-ish and not too done, but that had a little glamour to it. So we're doing a slight wave with a side parting that has a little bit of a Hollywood wave to it in the front, but very subtle and very soft.
With this collection, we sort of traveled from Hawaii to Japan. So there's this fusion of the ease of resort, coupled with the highly stylized fabrications of Japanese kimonos. And then we just dropped in a bit of Western too with it all. So in a way, it's Kill Bill. And it is. There's that real confluence of the three different cultures. There is this fusion of attitudes and cultures, the strict against the easy, the prints against the solids, a bit of ruffle against very severe little jackets. So it's, a mix. We're always searching for a new definition of red carpet. I like to try to get it out of the realm of simply evening gowns, and I don't mean that pejoratively, but when you do so many evening gowns for so many years, I'm always struggling to find a new vocabulary for what an evening gown can be. I always feel that with every collection, if I don't move someplace, I've probably failed myself, but I've also failed my clients. I love it. It's an opportunity to grow.
Wang may have taken her inspiration from art history, but she was far from sitting pretty. Sending out her most powerful ready-to-wear collection to date, Wang proved that she could dress more than just blushing brides.
It's a great show. It's Vera's best in her entire career. She was inspired by Flemish painting.
We have many themes that we love and we
for whatever reasons of time and, you know, budget and everything, we can't always get it done. But this was something that we thought about even 6 years ago, and we finally did it.
I thought that was a brilliant show. It was absolutely perfect. Everything about it was restrained, it was elegant, it was sophisticated. The colors were wonderful, the use of fur, everything about it was just exquisite. It was just a divine collection. I mean, this is really a customer that has an enormous amount of taste.
I thought it was beautiful. Very, very elegant. They're very romantic, but they're also very wearable. You know, they're made for the way women really are, not some imaginary woman on a plane somewhere.
I think it's the cut, and she really wants to feel women to be comfortable in her clothes.
We always put a great deal of detail, into the clothes, and you don't often see it from far away, so I've been accused of being a minimalist. But if you really look at the clothes close up, the draping is quite complex. But overall, it always has a more modern take, an easier, more nonchalant take.
Wang is never one to casually rest on her well-earned laurels. She finds reviews, whether good or bad, to be relevant.
Oh yeah, I wait to see them, you know. They're important to me, and I think that they give criticism and praise, and sometimes, and I think it's always good to constantly hone your craft. I don't ever think it's really good enough.
Receiving the CFDA award for ready-to-wear last season wasn't taken lightly by Vera Wang, whose claim to fame began by designing dream-inducing bridal gowns.
I'm still in shock. That hasn't worn off. It's just been sort of undercut by this state of tension I'm in before a show.
Focusing in on her summer show, Wang's beauty look is a bit New Frontier goes cosmopolitan.
I think how women looked in the Wild West is how they defined themselves. Their role in society very much played into how they looked.
It's hard to believe that Wang could find synergy between master painter Matisse and the tawdry Wild West TV series Deadwood. She did, and the results were brilliantly crafted clothes.
I think Deadwood is so gritty and real, the Far West, and the women, although Deadwood's ostensibly about men and cowboys and a pioneer town, a frontier in South Dakota, the most important part of the series is about women. And those four amazing women, and it could be Trixie the whore, or it could be, you know, the widow Garrett. So we really had the Black Widow, and we had the tomboy, and we had, you know, the lady from back east. And we had a head of a brothel. And the whole point about these four women is they all have courage and they all grow. They're just incredible. They're incredible characters. And the juxtaposition of a safe, you know, benign, wonderful world that Matisse creates, it's all romantic and sensual and sophisticated. Opposite these women that are so tough and gritty and they have to survive. I just thought it was a great counterpoint for the two. The colors are very much Matisse. He's probably was one of the greatest colorists in the history of painting, and I think served as a great inspiration for anyone who loves color. He never made color vulgar, and he never minimized. He always made it sophisticated and charming and optimistic. And I think the black from Deadwood and all the things that you know, women in pioneer and the frontier had to survive in the pioneer world, I think that just cut right into the color. The details are very hard to make. The complexity is in the cutting of the clothes. And I think, you know, that's something we pride ourselves on. The craftsmanship of the clothes, my attitude about women, which is that women should be modern and not in your face sexy, that's something, but seductive and a little mysterious. I think that's always there.
If only everyone's granny had a closet filled with such incredibly crafted clothes. Only Vera Wang can fuse contemporary film noir with modern art and come away with a vision for winter dressing.
I drew tremendous inspiration from the movie The Talented Mr. Ripley, because it was essentially an American film but set in Europe. And I think the youth and the glamour of that youth and how they lived their lives and how they were all there to write the great American novel, or all there to, sing a cappella, or all there to compose, songs. I found them to be this sort of rebellious but glamorous group of young people, and dark at times. And I think that very much gave me a hook onto which I could then explore the other major influence, which was Mark Rothko's search for modernity, for a vocabulary of modern art, in which it was no longer figurative, it was about color, but the color could express all kinds of emotion. And I think, the two just came together for me so clearly. Certainly the menswear influence came also from the film and from Loving Rothko, where there was a little bit of a toughness to the femininity. And I think that, that's what, made a lot of the 50s very interesting to me. I loved the brocades because they were a new take on brocade, and they were distressed brocade. You can bend them and move them, and you can almost make them work however you want to wear them, because they wrinkle and they stay like that, and it's great. And I think that makes it very organic.
She is a red carpet favorite. She has her wonderful Hollywood followers.
Ever since I was little, you open magazines and you see just women wearing her dresses, and they're so elegant, so beautiful, and cut so well. And now to be able to wear them sometimes myself is really, really exciting. And her everyday wear is so nice as well. It's a little more classic and simple, and I love that.
Her ready-to-wear has become just incredibly hip and great, and it's got an edge and it's got some funk, but at the same time it's Vera, it's got that kind of classical, clean line. But I think she's constantly evolving, and at the same time her stuff never gets dated.
Amid the front-of-house fanfare, a show program called to mind Vera Wang's father, who passed away earlier that morning. Her refined summer collection was dedicated to his memory.
I thought it was a very romantic collection. I loved the different cuts and the sort of poetic quality of it. I loved the little jackets and all the romantic shirts. I feel that Vera's really come into her own in the last 2 or 3 years in developing her own signature look and moving out of the bridal world into a very strong, very focused, ready-to-wear collection. So I'm so happy that, she's finally getting the recognition that I feel she truly deserves.
And what better recognition than inking an exclusive deal with Kohl's? The masses will now have an opportunity to be graced by Vera's design aesthetic.
I thought it was really beautiful, very romantic and poetic. I thought her way of dealing with layering and sportswear was really innovative. I love the way she put the ruffles on the t-shirts and mixed sort of jersey with chiffon. I think she's really gotten to a place that's very creative, and of course this Kohl's deal helps her a lot because it gives her a lot of money and a lot of help financially, which I think will help her to even grow her business creatively more, make it even more interesting. And I don't know, I really admire her a lot.
I loved that collection. It was, of course, a very sad occasion for her because she had lost her father that morning. This was a very strong and important collection for her. It also, I think, marked a moment where we can see that clearly Vera has evolved a story just for herself. She's definitely branding herself. She's creating a look that is distinctly Vera Wang.
Visibly shaken, Wang took her final bow. Vera Wang caused an uprising of her own when she put a New York spin on the Russian Revolution.
It was also about, you know, Russia at that particular juncture in time where there were great artists and musicians and dancers and actresses, and how they were trying to survive in the beginning of a Bolshevik world. This whole show was, after last spring, was an attempt to do tailoring this time, but in a new way, in which tailoring was not girly or old. I tried to keep it very modern. I think the military theme and the Bolshevik theme helped me to keep it fairly pure, but with a tremendous focus on cutting.
One of the things I really loved about Vera, and may have a lot to do with her new signatures, you now recognize Vera, totally recognize it. You can see it on people. Now she's a designer that you know and you can follow it. You will recognize what's a Vera technique and why you love that.
This was all about cutting, but it was certainly in a new way of looking at narrow and volumes, but in very select places. Where the volume occurred, little tiny bodices, narrow sleeves. The whole idea was to bring a femininity, but not girly, sophisticated, and that's what we tried to do.
If you want to really build on a brand, that's the way to do it. But you know, it was Vera. You saw it for day, you saw it for night. You'll go there and be a Vera girl now.
Soon the Vera girl will be going to Kohl's department store. Wang inked a multi-million-dollar deal with a mega chain that will bring her sophisticated style to the masses. It's Vera Wang's precise aesthetic that always captivates her audience. Her inspiration was reflected in the beauty look.
It is a little Grecian, a little bit of gold, bit of copper, very inspired by sort of Grecian statues, Grecian kind of fairies, Grecian dancers, a little bit androgynous, could be girl, could be boy. So it's sort of just a bit of a sort of, I don't know, kind of a wash of, or a veil of lots of slightly shiny, glittery taupe colours.
It is a study in silhouette that Wang cleverly works into her theme of Greek and Roman antiquity.
I loved ancient Rome. I mean, I'm a studier of all of that. Egypt, ancient Rome, ancient Greece. And I felt if it was summer, there was no better time to explore that. So I took this opportunity. This time it was very much an issue of how we cut the clothes. And if you saw something hanging, it's kind of shocking because, you know, they kind of go this way and they don't even look like they're for the human body, but when they're on the body, they drape a new way. And I think that's something we'd like to go after more and more in the future, and certainly the new fabrics. It was very important, the fabrics. That was a major part of the issue. But Rome gave me that freedom and that discipline to be able to work in color and to be able to work in more dramatic proportions.
Love Vera Wang. I was really excited with what happened at Vera.
What I thought was beautiful about Vera Wang was it really summed up the new femininity for fashion. She really understands the sensibility and the romance of clothes, and she put it together in a very ethereal and beautiful way. Of course, she managed to cover all the key pieces, from the very, very slim pants to the big oversized tops, but at the same time it had a very magical quality.
It's important to me as a designer to keep improving and to keep perfecting and learning new things.
Vera Wang is the empress of artistic chic. keeping her signature touch, for Autumn-Winter 08, she was inspired by Dutch painter Kees van Dongen.
I really loved being able to use Van Dongen for his color palette and his love of life. He was somebody that spanned 4 decades in his work through the 60s. And his use of color and the way he mixed it with charcoal grays and blacks, and he just was able to make color sophisticated, and that's not always the case. Color can quickly, you know, become rather loud and frightening and overwhelming, but I think his sophistication affected me a great deal as a designer.
Showing one of the most sophisticated color palettes, Wang incorporated deep blues, metallics, and just a splash of subtle orange. A collaboration with jeweler Philip Cronje made for stunning results.
I get inspired by things, and I think that, you know, when you come to a show, it's not just about merchandise, it's not just about stuff. It should be about some thought. I mean, depends on the season, but I got back a little bit to my couture roots this time with some of the more structured clothes, and I think some of my softer clothes were cut in many sort of bias shades that gave them tremendous volume, which we sort of started in spring. But this time we took it to really a whole nother. It became blouse dressing.
It had a real richness to it, and it, you know, had a real kind of soulful femininity that sounds so la-di-da, but I think it really did kind of have this, it had a real spirit to it. You know, they're not practical clothes, but I think they're clothes that women have an emotional response to.
I wanted it to be a young couture, a young sort of elongated look there, or a young Dior kind of look, but our way, young and modern.